All right, everybody, welcome to the cast. I am going to be your host tonight, Niz. If you're in Dota TV, we are casting live on twitch.tv/NizCast as well, so feel free to stop by Twitch and say hi and chat. But obviously, it's perfectly fine if you want to continue watching in Dota TV. We just had a little hiccup as we tried to transition into starting the cast here as Dota crashed on me, but looks like everything's going good so far, and we expect it to continue that way. But we had a pretty eventful day yesterday. Casted a bunch of games. We've been casting a lot of games for the open qualifiers, and here we are at the second and I guess the final day of the open qualifiers, as we're in the quarterfinals, or the last game of the quarterfinals. There's a little bit of drama leading up to this, but I'll get into that in a second. We're going to be having a best of one between EverNova and Luccini, and if you remember, in qualifier number 1, these two teams ran into each other in the semifinals, and it went the distance. It went the full 3 games. So we are in store for another great game. I was going to say series, but I guess it's a series, but it's only a best of 1 this time around. But it should be entertaining nonetheless. Of course, the winner of this will go on to play the team titled IXMike88, which is, of course, the team that everyone's kind of referring to as the Ritsu stack. So that should be interesting. And of course, the other semifinal is between Pain and FDL. And one of these teams will earn that 10th and final spot in the main qualifier. But I mentioned a little bit of drama leading into this. So in the previous round match, EverNova was playing up against TLC. And somehow, some way, a spectator got into the game that wasn't a caster, and they were sitting in the spectator slot. And I don't know what happened, but around the 30-minute mark, there was a pause, and both teams were basically requesting the spectator to leave. Person wouldn't leave, and they ended up getting to a point where they decided to remake the game. EverNova was actually behind by about, I think it was 8,000 gold at that point, and they had lost to Rax, and it wasn't looking too great for them, but they ended up having to remake the match. They started from scratch and ended up playing it. The admin had to rule that, and I think it's fair because I don't think it was decisive that TLC was going to win that game, so I think it's fair to EverNova. I don't know what happened for them to actually come to that pause at 30 minutes, and maybe that spectator had a play in that, and all of a sudden he said something in chat, and that raised red flags for both teams. But yeah, they ended up playing that again, and EverNova ended up taking that, and that's how we are here. There was people trying to get into the lobby while we were waiting for this one to start, and thankfully, face it, sent an admin, Bonsai, in to make sure that, Bonsai's his name, by the way, to make sure that we didn't have any hiccups. So hopefully everything will run smoothly from here on out. As let's get into the draft and talk about what's going on so far. We've got Slardar and Bounty Hunter so far banned out by EverNova in their first 2. Luccini banned out the Beastmaster and the Enchantress, so nothing too unusual there. Once again, the Slardar maybe stands out, but not really. We're seeing a trend of Slardar kind of rising in popularity, and we've seen a few teams been banning him in that first set of bans. As for the opening picks, we had the Winter Wyvern and the Night Stalker for Luccini. Once again, Winter Wyvern, very high priority pick between these two teams. EverNova also loves to kind of first pick that Winter Wyvern and go after it very early in the draft, as we've seen Derp make some serious plays on that hero, but don't sell Shekhet short either. He's had some really good games on the Winter Wyvern as well. As for EverNova, they picked up the Doom and the Darkseer, so already showing a little bit of greed in their lineup. They've already picked up their offlaner in the Darkseer, and then the Doom, which is primarily played as a position 4 in the jungle, so pretty greedy there. Then we moved into the second banning phase, where there's that Tinker ban from EverNova, respecting the fact that Luccini has a few players that can play this, play that hero very, very well. Of course, Camuzi, you see he's got hashtag Tinker in his name. He has played a ton of Tinker games, but when we saw them pick it in that other series 2 days ago, it wasn't actually him that ended up playing it. It was Matthew who played it. And he did a pretty good job, but EverNova's just had so many counters to the Tinker and were able to shut them down in that game. But either way, EverNova's not choosing to go up against it here, banning it out. They also banned out the Ember Spirit as well. Luccini banned out the Spectre and the Queen of Pain. So we're moving both those two very popular picks right now. As the Alchemist and the Bat Rider were their picks coming out of that phase. and Ancient Apparition, and now Slark picked up by EverNova. So far we've got the safe lane farming Slark. We've got both supports in the Ancient Apparition and the Doom, with of course the Doom being in the jungle, and then the offlaner with the Darkseer. So far it's looking like EverNova just needs their position 3, I guess, or position 2, excuse me, for their mid laner to round out their roster. But there is the off chance that maybe the Doom's going mid, or they could put the Slark mid. I don't think that's going to happen. But we just expect them to pick kind of a normal mid, as Death Prophet's going to get banned out by Luccini. As for Luccini's lanes, we've got the Winter Wyvern and the Night Stalker. We expect both those to be the supports, as they've picked up a Bat Rider to go in their off laner. Alchemist, still not sure where he's going to go, whether he's going to go mid lane or safe lane. We've primarily been seeing him played safe lane in the games that we've seen recently, but he's not too bad in the mid lane, and he's certainly going to get covered by the Dragon Knight. That has just been picked up by EverNova for their final pick. So if they do put the Alchemist in the mid lane, Dragon Knight is a hero that's very capable to deal with him in the mid lane. Of course, Dragon Knight's one that can kind of lane up against him. And oh, there we go. Timbersaw is going to get picked up. A little bit of a fringe pick here from Luccini Gaming. And this is a pick that's going to go directly against that Dragon Knight. So it looks like it will be the Alchemist safe lane. Even though maybe I'm wrong on that, because I'm looking at the heroes that are getting selected here, and the Sword is the one who's playing the Timbersaw. So unless they're changing around who's playing in which lanes, Timbersaw is looking like it's going to be the offlaner, and the Bat is going to be in the mid lane. Interesting. We'll see how it shakes out as we hop into the draft, or as we hop into the game, as EverNova just needs to select their last 2 heroes here, and we get into it. Once again, guys, it's going to be a best of 1. So winner takes it for this game. And we move into the best of 3s, going up against Ritsu's stack, or IX Mike 88, whichever team you want to refer to them as. We're going to jump on into it. I'm seeing a few complaints or just one complaint really, in the stream, asking if the stream's frozen for anyone else or just you. Everything looks fine on my end. I think it's just going to be you, Randy. I'm not sure if you can even hear me, but hopefully that'll get cleared up for you. If I guess if there is other problems, I guess you guys will let me know. But so far, everything's looking good on my end, and it wouldn't be a competitive game without a pause as we go in. And here we go. Both teams ready to go, and we're gonna jump on in, but we're gonna pause immediately again. So. The XD comes out in chat from Matthew, as apparently one of the players is just in the bathroom right now. So once they get back, we'll be set to go. But I want to let you guys know a little bit more about what I'm going to be doing outside of these open qualifiers. Basically, once we finish the open qualifiers, we're going to move on to the main qualifiers. Valve actually posted an official schedule of who's going to be casting, and giving some of the lesser known casters a nice little spotlight there to get a little bit more publicity. I guess those are the only ones who are going to be in the lobby. So that's great for those casters. I'm still going to be casting as many games as I can, and I'll be casting outside of the lobby, so I'll be doing it through Dota TV, so you guys can stop by here if you want to check that out. I'm not sure how many games I'm going to cast. I'm going to try to cast as many games as I possibly can, but of course that's a lot of games, and a couple games are going, and I think there's going to be 2 games always going on at once in the Americas, so that's going to be a little bit difficult, and we'll have to pick and choose which ones we're going to cast. But my aim is to cast as much of the main qualifiers as I can as well, and then we've got even more on the table, because we start moving into casting more at the Dota 2 Canada Cup, as we're in the group stage for that. And then there's the open qualifiers for the Summit 5 as well that we're interested in casting. So a lot of Dota yet to come. And speaking of the Dota 2 Canada Cup, both these teams that we're seeing here, Luccini and EverNova's, they were actually in exactly the same group, both in Group A. And somehow, in the GSL style formatting, they didn't end up playing each other. They're the only 2 teams that didn't play each other in that group. But we did see EverNova's actually come out first in that group, ahead of Complexity. So they advanced to the winners bracket for that, and Luccini finished third. So they'll still start the playoffs in the losers bracket. But it was interesting, and it was nice when we got 2 days ago to see them go up against each other in the semifinals to really find out how they kind of shook up against each other. And it looks like Luccini was able to definitely keep up with EverNova's. They looked maybe a little weak against Complexity, but certainly against EverNova's in that best of three, they held their own, and they actually took the first game and forced the whole series to a best of three, which was a pretty close one as well. We'll see if this best of one can continue that very close, I guess, rivalry between these two. And we're still waiting. I want to remind you guys, if you are in Dota TV, I am casting on twitch.tv/NizCast. So if you want to stop by there and to say hi, let me know how I'm doing. That is always appreciated. You can also tweet at me, at NizCast on Twitter. And once again, let me know how I'm doing. Give me any feedback, whether it's positive or negative. Greatly appreciate it. I'm just constantly trying to get better and better as a caster. As looks like we are finally ready to go. As unfortunately we've had many pauses in the past with Team Luccini, but I don't think this was one of those pauses. And if we see it again, I'm sure I'll go into that. But looks like we're off to a good start here. As let's introduce our teams and our players. So on our Radiant side is going to be Team Luccini. And we've got the Sword playing their Timbersaw. Shekid is going to be on the Winter Wyvern. Matthew is going to be playing the Bat Rider. Jeremy is going to be on the Alchemist, as he's trying to get off screen there. As Camuzi is going to be the Night Stalker. For our Dire side, it's going to be Team EverNova's, as Derp's going to be playing the Ancient Apparition. As I don't think we're actually going to see anyone get caught here. As Let Me Go is going to be on the Slark. Metro Boomin's going to be on the Doom. Give Dragon Knight Bliss is that's who's going to be on the Dragon. Of course, I'll just call him Dragon Knight throughout the match. And last but not least, we got Ho-K or Hook. He's going to be playing the Darkseer. Looks like we're going to have a battle here for the bottom rune, making sure, or trying to make sure that Alchemist doesn't get the early bounty. He's going to get stunned up. This could very well be our first blood. Bounty rune is actually going to get picked up by the Dire, so the Alchemist suicides, trying to get that bounty rune, and doesn't even end up getting it. He even places Acid Spray because I think he realized it wasn't going to happen. But he goes down for first blood. Now Let Me Go. Taking some right-click damage. He will be able to pounce away, but oh, Camuzi's starting to run in. No, he's not going to be able to get the Void off. So it will just be the one kill that we see so far. As an interesting lane so far coming out from EverNova's, they've actually sent Derp down here to the bottom lane. Looks like Let Me Go's coming as well. So a little bit of an aggressive lane coming out from EverNova's, where they'll be going up against this safe lane Timbersaw, as Metro from EverNova's is going to be invading the Radiant jungle here, where he's going to run into Shekid. And smacks him a second there with his sword, as Camuzi cleaning up this camp. As we effectively have two junglers in this game. Of course, the Night Stalker and the Doom will both be popping in and out of the jungle. Mainly the Night Stalker is going to be the one popping out. Doom kind of typically stays in the jungle a little bit more. But with this position for Doom, laning in the aggressive jungle, in the Radiant jungle, we might see him pop out a little bit more and say hi to the enemy team a few times. We've got Dragon Knight up against Alchemist in the mid lane. So once again, I think this is a lane that Dragon Knight's going to be able to do okay, and as Metro Boomin once again is getting harassed here. And now he's been voided up. I think he's actually going to go down here. He drops down to 130 HP. Oh, they've already used Arctic Burn. So no, they're not going to be able to cut him off there. So Metro Boomin will be okay. Meanwhile, in our top lane, we've got a Bat Rider going up against the Darkseer. Once again, another interesting matchup between those two, as there's an exchange of damage in the bottom lane, and the Sword just barely going to get the kill there on to Let Me Go. That's going to be an advantage for the Timbersaw, getting that kill up against the duo lane there. But of course, he is missing out on some of this XP in the lane right now, whereas EverNova's, they are soaking it, as their position 5 support, but still, that's a little bit of an XP advantage going their way as a result of the trade between those two farmers. So Jeremy picks up the DD and comes back towards the mid as this Dragon Knight is keeping pace with the Alchemist so far. Of course, the double damage is going to give him a little bit of an advantage right now. But one of the big things that Dragon Knight has that a lot of other mid heroes don't, that allows him to go up against this Alchemist, is just the fact that he's got a large amount of regen to be able to sustain against this constant acid spray spam coming out from the Alch. And of course, he's picked up a Quelling to go up against the Alchemist in terms of last hitting, make it a little bit more difficult for him. So we saw Let Me go down in that exchange between him and the Sword a little bit earlier on, but this aggressive lane hasn't really panned out for them so far. The Slark's only sitting at 8 and 2 CS. They're getting out CS by this Timbersaw, who's now at 11 and 0, and this Timbersaw is effectively, I mean, he's not really their offlaner because Bat's kind of that offlaner, but he's not really their hard carry either because Alchemist is the big one that they want to go for farm on, as the Sword trying to chase down Derp, and he's getting so close, but he gets caught by a pounce, so he's latched, and he can't chase, but eventually they get the kill there as the Void allowed them to narrow that gap, and Sword was able to get in there and smack him one time with his blades, saw blade, I guess. But going back to that point I was kind of making about the fact that when you have an Alchemist in the mid lane, as that is your kind of position 1 primary farmer, that's the one that you want all of your, or the majority of your gold to go on, you're actually okay with just having your safe laner trade against their carry. Because then you're constantly getting an advantage, you know, your Alchemist is still, even if he's drawing even with the Dragon Knight in the mid lane, it's still going to be an advantage for Luccini. We're going to have a wraparound here from Derp and Metro as they're going to go right onto Jeremy and get a kill there. Nice rotation there. And that's what I was talking about this Doom. Traditionally, we see him in the safe lane jungle, that position 4 Doom. He stays kind of quiet in the early game. He doesn't really come out. He doesn't really go for too many ganks. But with Metro being down in the aggressive jungle for the majority of this game, expect him to pop out. Expect him to go for some of those ganks. But he's still going to be able to retreat back and farm up some camps while he's doing it, so he's not going to fall behind, or that much behind, in terms of his gold and his XP. It's a trade-off, and it's certainly a risk. If he goes for those ganks and they don't work out, then he's going to fall behind where he would be if they just sat him in the jungle. But it's a risk that EverNovas are willing to take to try and win their lanes, and so far, with that kill on the Alchemist, it looks like it's panning out for them, as Camuzi is going to run right into Derp and Metro, as he's going to drop down relatively low, but he'll be okay. It's nighttime, so the Night Stalker's running very, very quickly. Splinter Blast going to deal a little bit of damage to those two heroes retreating from EverNovas, but there's really not much follow-up. As we still don't have Unstable Concoction picked up by this Alchemist yet, so there's no real disable to go on the back of it. So Let Me Go still struggling in this bottom lane, now sitting at 13 and 2 CS, and he's getting bullied by the Sword, who will try and dive the tower on him, but now here comes some TP response as the Darkseer comes in, and now the Sword, he's got to go the long way around to get back to the lane, or never mind, he'll be able to just come right back as the Slark ends up just backing in the lane. Meanwhile, there's some pings going up in the top lane as Matthew asking someone to TP up to the top. They want to go for a gank here. Well, they tried to pass the bottle there, but didn't work out for them. As they're going to go for a gank here. They do have Lasso available. They're going to pop the Firefly, fly over the trees, but Derp, he knows what's up. He's already out of there. So this TP gank will not work for them. Dragon Knight and Alchemist still even in the mid lane. 37 and 3 CS on the Alchemist. The Dragon Knight's sitting at 36 and 8, so pretty much dead even there between the two of them. As we're going to have another smoke from EverNovas as Metro and Let Me Go are going to group up this time. Look at this. They're going for a wraparound play on mid, but if you saw the drawing on the mini-map, it looks like Luccini's also going to go for a wraparound on mid at roughly the same time, as Camuzi's going to try to go for the courier. He's going to get one swipe. He needed two, but the speed burst was there. And now it's going to put him a little bit far away from this engage on the mid, as the Dragon Knight's going to get somewhat engaged on by Luccini, but he's now going to get frozen, or the Alchemist is going to get frozen up by the Cold Embrace, and they've managed to turn this around despite the fact that Camuzi was a little bit late to the party on that one. But with the sword coming on in, they've got the numbers, and they're going to get the kills here, as the Dragon Knight and the Slark are both going to go down. Two very, very valuable, high-value targets early on in this game.
Middle tower is under attack.
And that worked out perfectly for Luccini. I thought maybe EverNova was going to have the advantage with Camuzi kind of diving the tier 2 tower, trying to get that courier. But apparently not. The damage came in on the Dragon Knight, and instead of being on the offensive going after the Alf, the Dragon Knight had to immediately shift into defensive mode and try to run away, where he was too slowed up and he couldn't. And then he eventually went down. And then with the sword rotating on in, Let Me Go then quickly got bursted down as well. Jeremy farming up one of these stacks in the jungle. He's not at 2,300 gold right now, as he's trying to get closer to that relic. Matthew's also up at 2,200, almost 23, so he'll have his Blink Dagger in just a second. And there it is, getting picked up. Dragon Knight going to shift into dragon form. Start putting some pressure on this tier 1 tower, but there will be some TP response coming in from Luccini, as Matthew's going to look for a Blink Lasso, and he's going to find it on the Dragon Knight. Metro Boomin and Derp Derp are there, but I don't know how much they're going to be able to help him here, as the damage is just too much. The Dragon Knight's going to go down, and now the Ancient Apparition's on the run. He is slowed down. He is not going to make it, as he pops his stick to delay the inevitable a little bit there, but he eventually goes down, and another 2 kills going the way of Luccini.
Radiant's bottom tower
As EverNova, they've got numbers in those lanes. They've got numbers leading into these engagements, but then they just quickly get overrun.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
With that lasso on cooldown, Matthew will just start farming up in the top lane. Let Me Go's nearby, as he's trying to get back in this game. Matthew's just going to blink on him. Of course, like I said, the lasso's still on cooldown. This is really just kind of harassing. I don't think Let Me Go is really in danger of going down here. With Matthew already using the Flame Break, there's not really much burst that's going to come out. That's going to disable the Slark from being able just to pop that ult and just regen back up. Is Metro going to pop the Scorcher, so now he's going to try to chase down the Bat Rider, as the roles are reversed here. As he gets down to 200, he's going to net him up with, I don't even know what that's called. Oh, it is just called Ensnare, just like the Warcraft 3 ability. The kill there going to EverNova's. But as soon as this Bat Rider respawns, he will have his lasso back off cooldown. So expect him to TP somewhere and try to get a gank. Of course, EverNova's, they're going to know the timing on that lasso. They're going to know that he's going to be doing exactly that. He might even try not to do that and show in a lane first, and then quickly duck out and TP away. So they maybe get somewhat comfortable with the fact that he has just shown in a lane, rather than just TPing immediately to a lane on respawn. But we'll see what he goes with. He's just going to TP right down to the bottom. And you see how, okay, already backing. They recognize the fact that this Bat Rider is going to be coming, as they're backing in pretty much all their lanes. The only one kind of playing aggressive is Derp Derp, but he hasn't even shown in this lane, so it's not like he's really playing that aggressive. And they've even been pinging out all the communication here from EverNova. They're very clearly aware that this Bat Rider is currently hunting, and he's not going to find anything. So good play there, good read coming up from EverNova's. As now they'll back and regroup. Is this going to be a smoke? Metro's got one. Yep, they're going to 4-man smoke. They're actually going to run right into Luccini immediately, as it's going to be Matthews. He's going to blink away. There was a scan used as well over this area just outside of the Ancients, and that was actually used by EverNova, trying to find some of the heroes from Luccini. But the smoke gank fails, as Matthew pops that and was able to blink away. So now both teams will just kind of go back to farming, or maybe not, as Luccini's going to go for a 4-man gank. The only one not smoked up is going to be the Alchemist, as they'll probably bait him in the mid lane as they're looking to set up there. And now Scan's just been used up here by Luccini. So they know a hero's there, and they know a hero's staying there. As now the Dragon Knight will just barely step out of that. As Camusi going for the wraparound here. He's a little bit ahead of his team. Derp's here as well. And here comes Metro out of the jungle. Matthew's going to blink in. The lasso's going to be used on that Dragon Knight. As the Timbersaw just does so much damage to him with that pure damage as the Dragon Knight's going to go down. Now the sword's going to go down. So it's a 1-for-1 trade so far. But EverNovas are on the run here. They have 3 heroes on very low HP. And Let Me Go isn't really that healthy either, as he's just around half his HP. And unfortunately, we have a pause as a G gets called immediately. Both teams are ready to go. Camusi looking like he might want to engage here. But once again, he's a little bit away from his team. Derp's going to get caught with that urn. And he is going to tick out of that. I don't think the stick's going to make him live. But no, just one more tick. He needed a few more charges on that stick, and he would have been okay. But Camusi gets in there, gets that kill. It does just end up being a trade, so not really that worthwhile, I don't think. But it has created a little bit of space for the other heroes of Luccini to start pushing this tier 1 tower. With Metro TPing on in, they'll back away. As now they're going to send 2 heroes down towards the bottom lane. I was a little surprised that the Night Stalker TP'd down here. I think just a little bit of miscommunication there. You'd really like the Night Stalker not to be showing on the map right now because it is still nighttime.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And Derp having just TP'd to the mid lanes. Actually going to drop a smoke on the ground there. As we switch on over to the net worth and we see how well everyone's doing. The Alchemist leading the way at 8.1k net worth. Quite a bit ahead of everyone else in the game, but of course he is an Alchemist, and we're going to see a little bit of gold go the way of EverNovas here as they bring down this mid-tier 1 towers. It's our first tower that's been pushed so far. But the second net worth is going to be our Darkseer, who's already got his mech and his arcane boots to go with his soul ring. He'll start making progress towards his next item, whether it's going to be a blink or maybe we can just upgrade into the GG boots, we'll see. But what he chooses to go this game. The sword's number 3 in the game, as this Timbersaw largely picked to counter this Dragon Knight that was snatched up by EverNovas, but it also put them in a pretty interesting position in the lanes as well. The Timbersaw actually quite good against the majority of heroes here on EverNova. It's good against the Doom, it's good against the Slark to some extent, it's good against the Dragon Knight, it's even good against the Darkseer, as the sword's going to get stunned up here, and oh, he tries to Timber Chain away, but nicely played there with the vacuum from the Darkseer. It's going to be a kill for EverNovas, and they're going to look to push on the back of this, go for this bottom tier 1 tower. And it looks like Luccini's going to completely back away, as there was the Alchemist close by, but he TP'd away. He's going to try to farm with his Radiance that they just recently picked up, but now EverNovas, they don't want that tier 1 tower. They're going to go for a gank, and they've already pinged out the fact that this Alchemist is going to be here. He's going to place the Observer Ward. They're going to see him as he rotates away. Now they're going to try to cut him off as he's going to go towards the mid lane, but they read it a little bit wrong because they're going to run into a Winter Wyvern instead of an Alchemist. Alqua's going up towards the Ancients. He'll channel his Unstable Concoction and just stun himself. But that bottom tier 1 tower was destroyed by the Dragon Knight, as he's going to TP back, get his mana pool back up, and get ready to join up with his team. He's got a Blade Mail, so he's pretty ready to fight right now. And Echo Saber getting picked up by Let Me Go, so not electing to go after the mobility item that we largely see come out from Slarks as their first item, whether it's a Blink Dagger or a Shadow Blade, as we're going to have an engage here. Matthews found a target. It's going to be Metro. As he's going to pull him back with the lasso. He's just standing there on top of the chakra, unable to move, and he's going to go down. Wall Vacuum is going to come out, but all the illusion's going to go down as a huge Ice Blast coming in from Derp. It's going to hit 3 heroes as the Darkseer is going to go down. Now Derp on the run, but he's just going to turn around as he meets up with his Dragon Knight and his Slark. They're going to get a kill there. Winter's Curse going to come out, going to tie up the Slark, and the Dragon Knight on very, very low HP will just barely survive, but now he's been stunned up by the Unstable Concoction as we see Derp go down just above that. And oh, so close to getting away there was the Dragon Knight, but he ticks out from, I don't think it was the Acid Spray, I think it was the Radiance Burn, but either way, it's one of those kind of damage over time abilities. So when it's all said and done, we have just one extra hero going down on the side of EverNovas, and just a slight 300, almost 400 net worth advantage as a result of that exchange between the two teams. Jeremy's picked up his boots of travel, and he's got his Yasha also delivering here. Let me go up to 1,500 gold. We've got a hood now picked up by the timber, so he's getting a lot more tanky. As Luccini just using a scan up here on the top, which was just a little bit too early to catch the Slark. We're going to have the Darkness pop by Camo Z, as I'm not really sure what they were trying. I think maybe they were trying to engage on those heroes in the bottom from EverNova's, but the rotation coming in from Luccini was completely stopped by the 3 observer wards that are in the Radiant jungle. We've got the one on the pillar. We've got the other 2 kind of protecting or nearby the easy camp or the pole camp. With it still being nighttime, they're going to go for a push here on the bottom tier 1 tower. We've got 3 heroes down here, and EverNova's is nowhere near. So this tier 1 tower is going to go down for pretty much free. As Matthew's hunting by himself, he's going to find Derp. He's got double damage as well, as Derp already down to half HP before the lasso even used. But the Bat Rider's going to get stunned up by the DK, and the AA will go down to the fire that was just on the ground. But it is a trade, as Derp's actually going to be the one who gets the kill there. So once again, advantage going the way of EverNova's there. It's your offlaner exchanged for the position 5. As EverNova's tries to catch some heroes as they retreat here. Are they going to be able to get the Doom off? No. Just barely able to TP away there with Shekin. Jeremy going with the split push. Just took down the top tier 1. And start pushing towards the tier 2. There was a bunch of TPs that came out from EverNova's getting down towards that bottom lane. And it doesn't really look like anyone else is going to be able to TP up there. In fact, Derp now TPing down towards the bottom lane to go and play some observer wards and do a little bit of counter warding. As he's not going to find that observer ward, as it's been placed a little bit in behind, not on the high ground, but just roughly scouting the same kind of information that observer ward is going to give you if it were placed here. The only information it's really not giving you is information about the Ancients, but you can see them rotating in from all the major routes to do so. As we're going to have an unstable concoction stunning up the Darks here. He is going to get the kill here. The question is, will he be able to get away? Because there's a lot of EverNova's heroes converging on this location, but so are the Luccini heroes as well. As we're going to have a Doom come out from Metro, but then they quickly see that there's a bunch of heroes from Luccini, and they're just going to turn away. They're going to say, you know what, we just threw away a Doom, but it's no big deal. It's just a cooldown. No sense risking any heroes' lives here, especially going into a fight that we know is at best 4v5 with our Darks here being dead. Matthew's completed his 4 staff, so he's got the global presence of those boots of travel plus the double mobility items, as he's got the blink and the force. So expect to see him blink and lasso and force himself back, pulling someone way out of position on EverNova's, but there is decent counterplay to that. Of course, the Dragon Knight pretty tanky, and as long as he's got some good counter engage from the Darkseer, they should be okay. And speaking of okay, he's up to 1,600, almost 1,700 gold, which I think is pretty significant. I think he's saving for a Blink Dagger, and I really like that pickup if he is, because like I said, he needs some strong, or EverNova's needs some strong counter engage for that bat play as he jumps in and lassos someone. And then that's the play where the Darkseer is going to be able to jump in, get a good wall vacuum off, because as that target's been lassoed and pulled back, obviously Luccini's going to want to throw abilities at it, or even just throw right clicks at that target, which brings them all essentially into vacuum range. So that would be a huge moment for the Darkseer to blink in and get that big counter engage off. Once again, we've got our pause. It's a courier bug on the side of Luccini, so I'm not really sure what that means. But Camo Z will reconnect, and hopefully we'll be good to go again, where he's about 800 away from completing his Aghanim Scepter. So once again, another kind of engage advantage. You already got the one with the Bat Rider, being able to have that flying vision, and then of course being able to blink on top of someone and grab them and pull them back. But the Night Stalker is just going to further enable that by having his huge aerial nighttime vision. thanks to his Aghanim Scepter. But, it is going to be a pipe picked up by the Timber. Just needs to deliver that. Sitting in his stash currently. We've got Hand of Midas. And working out so far for the Dragonite. He's up to another 1,000 gold. Hey, can you pause, please? Courier bug. Uh-oh. So there was just a patch as we created the lobby and we hopped on in, and the Dota 2 coordinator was being updated, so we all had to disconnect and patch Dota and connect back in. Not really sure what was changed. I didn't get a chance to check on the subreddit to see what the patch notes included. And immediately Faceit admin stepping in. There's Bonsai. So like I said, he's overwatching this game, making sure that there's nothing fishy going on with random spectators jumping in or anything of the sort. Hopefully that's all. That will be resolved and they'll be able to use their courier. I imagine they can't use it at all because it's not like we're seeing it move or... It just says it's retrieving items. I don't know. They managed to give it the speed burst at some point. And it says it's delivering items to the Winter Wyvern, but it doesn't have any items on it, so it shouldn't be delivering anything. The Tome of Knowledge and the Observer Awards were just purchased by the Winter Wyvern, so it would stand to reason that he then would try to put those on the courier and send them to him. But obviously something's bugged there. There's a whole bunch of drawing going on the map. It was looking somewhat tactical there for a bit, but then it turned into hearts, and I don't even know what that second thing was. So I'll quickly bring up our items here so you guys can get tabs on where everyone is. As it's pretty much a pipe completed by this sword. He just needs to send it to his hero, or maybe he's going to have to go back to the fountain if the courier's not going to work for them. We've got Sheka with your typical just supporting items and arcanes. Matthew's got his Boots of Travel, Blink Force. And then Jeremy, the big farmer in this game so far, with the Boots of Travel, Radiance, Manta, and the makings of an Octarine, just a soul booster. Like I said, Kemuzi getting close to also completing his Aghanim Scepter, as he's now 650 away from that. We got two Midases up on the side of EverNovas as the Ancient Apparitions picked one up. And, oh, it's Guardian Greaves recipe picked up by the Darkseer. So he's not electing to go immediately for that Blink Dagger. I still think it's a great pickup this game, so maybe he'll go for that after this Guardian Greaves. And let me go. At 1,100 gold right now. His last pickup was the Blink Dagger. Can you use Courier? We can't. As the courier now doesn't say that it's delivering to the Winter Wyvern, at least. I don't know. Obviously, there's something going on here in this new patch. As Metro's going to get flame break there. That's going to almost allow the Bat Rider to jump in and snake that bounty room, but Metro ends up getting it. As he minuses some creeps up in the mid. DK's up at 1,800. Now back in a TP down. Towards the bottom lanes. Well, it looked like he was going towards the bottom. He actually went back towards the fountain. So we now have a Blink Dagger on the Alchemist. So not completing that Octarine just yet.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
A little bit of a stalemating moment right now in the game, as both teams feel pretty comfortable just sitting back and farming. So we'll take the time to take a look at our gold graph. We can see it's heavily in favor of Luccini. Over 10,000 gold lead for them so far. As XP been just slightly over 5k for a little bit. As it's largely been Luccini favor in terms of gold for the majority of this game, but you can't entirely read into that. I'll get into that in a second. That's mainly because of the Alchemist. As Derp's been lassoed and pulled back, he's going to go down. As the Aghanim Scepter will now get completed by the Night Stalker, which is just going to lead to probably more of those situations that we just saw. But going back to the net worth graph, you always have to effectively take this 0 line whenever there's an Alchemist in the game and shift it up in the Alchemist team's favor to really get a better idea of how the game's going. I do think Luccini is ahead in terms of gold right now, and obviously you can see that they are. But you have to keep in mind that Alchemist has this ridiculous ability. He gets more gold from creeps for a reason. It's to allow him to peak earlier in the game, which is one of his big advantages. But the other thing is that he just needs more to really be super effective. So a lot of this gold is kind of gold necessary to make the hero effective, as Metro is going to go down here. But you think if you compare a lot of offlaners, there's some offlaners that need very, very little in terms of net worth to be able to function. Of course, Clockwork's going to be one of those great examples. He needs very, very little in terms of items to be really effective. He's mainly just about XP. Of course, you need to pick up something like a Blade Mail or Force Staff or something like that to be effective after a couple engagements. But you compare him to more greedy offlaners, even a Bat Rider to some extent. Bat Rider, I mean, he gets his Blink Dagger and then he starts being effective, which is a little bit more of an investment than the Clockwork just hitting 6. But Bat Rider, to really be effective beyond that, he still needs to get his Force Staff. He still needs to get his Boots of Travel as well to really have the move speed and to be able to jump around the map and do what you pick the Bat Rider for. As EverNova's smoked up, moving towards the top lane. They wanted to go after that bat, it looks like, but not going to find it, as their scan's going to find a hero at the camp, but now they see that he's just walked away from it, so not at the camp anymore. As their smoke will fail here. Now Octarine completed, as Luccini will all group up. Now Blink getting picked up by Metro. So it's going to fly in on the careers. We've got a pounce coming out from Let Me Go. It's going to land onto Jeremy. It's going to lock down that Alchemist in place, and that's a very valuable kill for EverNova's.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
As now, maybe they'll be able to push with this. All their lanes are kind of pushing against them, though, so they might just have to do some housekeeping here to get the lanes pushed back out and just take advantage of the fact that the Alchemist's dead and allow them to farm a little bit more aggressively on the map. I just see the patch notes getting dropped in chat right now. So apparently nothing was done to change couriers or any kind of interaction on the couriers. It was just evasion, Bristleback's nasal goo, Axis counter helix, that kind of thing. So nothing related to the courier, but that doesn't mean that something isn't necessarily broken with the courier now as a result of those changes. There's plenty of things that happen in games when they get patched that are completely unintended. You change one thing on one side and apparently something completely on the other end of the game as coding gets broken. Shadow Blade for the Dragon Knight. Alright, Darkseer's got enough for a blink. Is it going to happen? There it is. There it is. And that, I really think that was a big pickup for EverNova. I think it's going to really strengthen their team fight. As for Luccini, they don't entirely need the bat to hard engage now. They've got a lot. They've got the Timbersaw being able to kind of just run in. He's not super tanky, but I mean, with the pipe, he's less vulnerable to some of the magic damage coming out, and he's also got the Yule Scepter to kind of shake off any kind of burst that all of a sudden comes in that's going to threaten his life. So he can just actually walk in and that be their engage. And with the Night Stalker also running in, the Alchemist just running in, it's kind of scary. And EverNova is just going to probably be forced to react to that. So then the Batrider can come in as kind of a later engage. And those later engages are typically the better ones. I always use Tidehunter as an example in this situation. It's always much easier and much better to jump in a little bit later and get a big Ravage than to try and initiate with one. But of course, you wait too long and then your team's already lost the team fight, so you can't hold on to it for forever. Same thing with Black Hole. Any kind of big AoE ult, Darksteer as well. If you try to jump in immediately and try to catch a bunch of heroes with a wall vacuum, it's going to be a lot harder because you're not typically going to have a bunch of enemy heroes all grouped up. However, like I said, the Batrider jumps in, lasso someone, pulls them back. That's going to somewhat bring Luccini in together, and that's where the Darkseer is able to jump in and take advantage of something that's already happened in the fight from a previous engage or from the initial engage that has led to some clumping that the Darkseer will take advantage of. Let me go. Is pushing past the tier 2 tower in the top here as Jeremy wants to go after him. As he was channeling the Unstable Concoction, Let Me Go was TPing, and he smartly decides to cancel that, so Jeremy actually ends up stunning himself, but Matthew is still able to catch up. He gets the lasso, pulls him back, and it's a dead Slark as Luccini now ahead 17-13 as there's action in the mid lane as well as the Sword jumping in aggressively. He's going to run right into 4 heroes from the side of EverNova's as he's going to go down, so a little bit of overextension there from the Timber. As Camo Z also involved, Jeremy's going to get 4-staff forward by his Batrider. And that's going to allow him to get the Unstable Concoction off on Derp Derp. So Luccini will find another kill. Now, ping's coming off way off the map there, but yeah, I think they were originally intended to be Ping and Roche, as they're going to go down and try and get an Aegis. And with the Slark and the A dead for roughly 25 seconds. This looks like it should be a free Roshan for Luccini. We do have the 3 heroes from EverNova's grouped up, but they don't really look like they're going to come down and contest, and I really don't think it would be wise. If you had Boots of Travels on your Slark, maybe, because the AA could always Ice Blast from Fountain, and then you would effectively have 4.5, almost a full 5-man team there. But yeah, they don't have those Boots of Travel, so they're just not going to risk it. And Matthew's going to have an Aegis. And really, a Batrider having the Aegis isn't really the most scary thing in the world. I think it would be much, much worse if EverNova's got a hold of that, and it's something like a Slark running around with an Aegis. That's a much bigger issue to deal with.
Gold remains.
Of course, we expect the Bat to kind of do his thing early on in the fight. So if he then goes down, his respawn is going to be not really that effective with Lasso still on cooldown, as he's more an engaging kind of hero. But it's hard to really think of who else you put that on. You don't have any room on the Alchemist. Timber doesn't really have much room either. He can't really afford to drop many of the items, or any of the items he has right now. He still makes use of the Soul Ring and even the Magic Wand to kind of make him a little bit tankier as he goes in. That burst heal from the max charges of Magic Wand is quite significant, even at this point in the game. DK will pick up his BKB as Luccini once again. They're looking for a pick-off here. Matthew's sitting in Viz, waiting for someone from EverNova's to push up. Well, looks like that tier 2 tower is just going to go down. They're going to sacrifice it and wait until Luccini tries to push uphill. Matthew going to go up onto the high ground. He's going to blink directly on top of the Dragon Knight. He's going to be able to pull him way back, but there's that BKB that he just picked up coming to use. He's going to pop that and the Blade Mail. Nice wall vacuum, or vacuum is going to bring all 5 heroes from Luccini back into that Ice Blast, and this is a great start to the team fight for EverNova. They already get the kill onto the Winter Wyvern. They're going to follow it up with one on the Timber Saw. Let Me Go drops down to about half HP. He was the only one who was really that close to dying on the side of EverNova's. Of course, the Dragon Knight got engaged on to start things off, and he got kind of low. But once he got back to his team and they engaged, it was pretty clear that the Dragon Knight was then in a position where he wasn't really worried too much about his life. As Blink now getting picked up by the Timber, and just interesting. We're going to have a second pipe picked up as the Night Stalker is going to pick up a pipe. So a little bit of overlap there from Luccini. Of course, unless I'm mistaken, the pipe effects do not stack. You can't pop one and then pop, even after you go through that shield, you can't pop another one. I believe it's still, the heal or the effect of it is disabled for a short duration, kind of like mech.
I'll take that.
As we got BKB purchased by Bat. We also have an Aghanim Scepter picked up by the Alchemist. Who's he going to give it to? It's going to go to the Timbersaw. He's going to start giving Aghanims to pretty much everyone on his team. As looks like everyone on his team can use one. So, of course, Winter Wyvern just got a new Aghanim Scepter buff in 6.87. So if this game goes on, we may be able to see that. Of course, there are other options for him. You can give it to the Bat Rider for that kind of, I guess, AoE lasso. He can eat one himself. He can give one to the Night Stalker so the Night Stalker can sell his. And that frees up some item space for him. Is Matthew going to try to engage? Winter's Curse is going to be the follow-up for the wall vacuum that inevitably came out from EverNova. As Let Me Go is going to jump onto the Timber off to the right-hand side of the screen. Once again, Dragon Knight getting low, but having popped his BKB and his Blade Mail, they stop focusing him. Ice Blast going to fly in. It's going to get the kill onto the Bat Rider, but he'll respawn with that Aegis. As the Dragon Knight once again still in trouble, but he's not anymore, as Camuzine was diving really, really deep for that, and EverNova's, without much other threats from the heroes from Luccini, just kind of converge on that Night Stalker and get the kill there. 19-17 now. Just take a quick look at our fight recap. As this effectively is a 2-for-1, but the Bat Rider death doesn't really count because of the Aegis, so it is just a 1-for-1 when we shake it all down. So only 300 gold advantage for EverNova's from that fight. It looked like it could have been a much bigger team fight. But didn't happen that way. So we just had one hero from each side going down. Take a look at our gold graph again, as it's kind of stalled out around this 10 to 12k gold lead for Luccini. But once again, got to keep in mind there is an Alchemist on the side of Luccini, and he is effectively 6 slotted. XP has actually come down in favor of EverNova's. This is the first time in the game they've actually been leading in terms of XP outside of the first couple minutes. Yeah, the Alchemist is effectively 6 slotted right now. Of course, he's constantly just passing those Aghanim Scepters out. So his strength it's kind of peaked right now. So don't really expect him to get any stronger, although he'll be able to kind of maintain the net worth lead for his team, because he's going to keep farming the ridiculously fast way that an Alchemist does, and because he's constantly giving these Aghanim Scepters out, we'll have effectively a higher net worth on each of these heroes from Luccini. Look for engage. Once again, it's going to be on the Dragon Knight. Pops his Blade Mail, doesn't pop his BKB just yet. I believe it's down to 8 seconds. Yeah, still on 8 seconds. Drip was actually split pushing, putting some pressure on the bottom tier 2 as an Ancient Apparition. He'll run away, and then Let Me Go will retreat shortly after him. He's now picked up a Scotty, and he's going to add on the BKB, so fresh 10-second BKB. So the next engage, EverNova's will look to have a more committed engage, so that full 10-second BKB will give them a big advantage in that fight. They don't really want one of these small, like, half engages, as Matthew does right there, basically. He's going to blink forward. He's going to go for the lasso now, as Jeremy walks in, ends up stunning himself. Wall, or no wall, just a vacuum is going to come out from, there's the wall. As we've had 2 heroes already down on the side of EverNova's. It might cost Luccini their Alchemist. Indeed it does, as Derp's going to go down. So will the Bat Riders. Now Matthew in trouble, as he doesn't have an Aegis this time. The Dragon Knight with one more attack will be able to score that kill. So 3-for-3 trade. But Let Me Go, he's not finished right now. He wants to keep going He did pop that BKB in that engage, and he tries to find the Night Stalker who's running away, but he takes a different path as the Night Stalker's got a big advantage in that regard because we are still in the nighttime, and he's got the Aghanims, so he has that huge global flying, or not global, but huge aerial flying vision.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Mid tier 2 goes down. It's now they start knocking on the door of the tier 3. Glyph's gonna get popped, and it's even gonna force out a buyback from the Timbersaw. As Luccini do not want to give EverNova any space whatsoever, any slight advantage that's going to help EverNova's out on the map and gain some more map control back. Because for the most part, the last 10, 15, even more than that minutes, map control has largely been Luccini's favor. They've been the ones moving around as a group and largely controlling the middle area of the map. EverNova has been trying to break that up a little bit with this Observer Ward in the Radiant jungle, and they've even got another one that's not really entirely helping them with what they're trying to do, but it kind of does. It allows them to get down there by pushing the bottom lane. Allows you to kind of push it a little bit further, and then the second one kind of reinforces that, allowing you to push even further down the lane. And by doing that, constantly pushing on this tier 2 tower, it kind of brings Luccini back down. So instead of having Luccini having, I'm going to draw on the minimap, instead of Luccini having control over this kind of huge area in the middle, you're effectively shifting that whole thing down. So it's more, they're dominating this kind of space, which of course is then going to free up some space for EverNova. Just send one hero, maybe two heroes down towards the bottom. And create space. It also relieves some pressure off of this top lane so that they can then push it out a little bit further as well. And we've seen a few times where EverNovas have won a team fight or come out ahead in some kind of engage, and they haven't been able to push because they've then had to go back and manage their lanes because either mid, top, bottom, or some combination of all those lanes were pushing against them, so they had to go back and farm up those lanes. As we're going to have a Winter's Curse coming out here from Shekid, as he's going to try to get away with it, but it's not going to work, as he's going to die. But space created. His team's doing Roche, so it's going to be another free Roshan and Aegis going the way of Luccini. As the sword's going to be the one to pick it up this time. I like that instead of the Bat Rider. 4,300 gold on Let Me Go. It's gonna be his next item. I wonder, maybe Abyssal?
Radiant's top tower.
You go for an Abyssal so you can stop the Alchemist.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
Preventing him from dishing out the amount of damage that an Alchemist can deal, and then allowing you some kind of opportunity to focus him down while he's not able to go crazy. And I see it being brought up in chat. The pipe was changed in 687 so that they do stack. Now, one of the 687 patch notes that I'm actually forgetting. I forgot about that. I just keep kind of remembering the change to the hood. So here's the gem that just got pinged out by the Darkseer. Oh, look, I really like that. So
we'll take that.
Where did he just pass his now to? Okay, passed it to Metro. So it looked like what EverNova's did is they ended up buying a second gem and just placing it in the fountain. So if they lose this gem, they're already refreshing, restocking the cooldown of it. It's almost back up now. I think that's what happened. I don't think we had a gem on the side of Luccini. Unless I missed that. But Maelstrom now getting picked up by the Dragon Knight. As Luccini knocking on the door of this top tier 3. Some pings coming out onto the Slark in the mid lane. They're thinking about maybe rotating back onto him. As Alk's going to go down, start pushing out the bottom lane. And this is how we get to that situation where all the lanes are pushing. And even if EverNova's wins the fight, they have to manage their lanes. It's very, very difficult playing against these heroes that somewhat have, or these hard carries that somewhat have global presence. Of course, Alchemist is the example in this game, but you think back to when Naga carry used to be a big thing. Pretty much doing the same build that the Alchemist did, and I think that's partly inspired the Alchemist build.
Invisibility.
On top of that, Luccini, their Tinker got banned out in the second banning phase of this game, and that's a very similar playstyle. The Tinker being able to constantly control the lanes and put so much pressure on your opponents. So even if you lose the team fight, they can't really push and punish you for it. We've only seen one team fight really go the way of EverNova's, where they were able to get a tower and they got the tier 2 in the mid. And even still, I think that was a 3-for-3 trade that happened kind of more away from the EverNova's base. It was more towards the middle of the map. But Luccini will look to, if they force a fight, they'll look to force it a lot closer to EverNova's base. Is this still pretty much anyone's game? I'm going to take a quick look at our net worth graph again, as it's coming back towards EverNova's favor. Still Luccini advantage. And part of that is this Alchemist is, well, he's now kind of done. he's still farming, he's still adding stuff on, but actually he's only... Oh, yeah, he hasn't put out any other Aghanim Scepters. So he's even got a Blink Dagger sitting in his stash right now. I guess technically, oh, he's going to buy an MKB. I guess technically he could also have a Refresher in the stash as well. If we get to a point where they're trying to go on the offensive and the Alchemist dies, he can always buy back and refresh his Boots of Travel if needed, but also refresh his Chemical Rage and stuff like that, so he can get back into the fight and be effective. It seems like it's not really worth when you compare it to how big a refresher can be on a hero like Tidehunter or something like that. But I mean, that's the difference between some of these fights. If your Alchemist can TP back in, and he's got his Chemical Rage back up, that really greatly increases Alchemist's potency in those fights. And I mean, it's not just Alchemist that can do that. But when you're talking about a hero that's effectively 8-slotted right now, there's not much else you can do besides stacking more items like that, like the refreshers. And I mean, we used to see, we haven't really seen it for a while now, because the games don't really go super late. But we used to see the idea of having those refreshers that you cycle in and out using the courier. Same with Necro Books. You pop those as you try to push. Even if you're defending your base in one of those long matches, we're up against Megas or something like that, you can. You don't need the Necro Book on your hero. You can just cycle it in with the courier. I really feel that neither team really wants to commit to a fight right now. I think both teams definitely recognizing that the next fight could be, or will most likely be very big, because we're probably going to see a set of racks go down. Even if EverNova's loses a fight, or even if EverNova's wins a fight in their base, they'll still probably be able to push out and get a set of racks. However, if EverNova's loses the fight, then because of how the lanes have been, and because Luccini's trying to make the fights on EverNova's side of the map, in fact, basically at the EverNova's base, they'll probably get not just one set of racks, but probably two. Or maybe even just be able to end the game. So Slark's picked up an Eagle Song as he's working towards his Butterflies at 4,100 gold right now. Also saw Basher get picked up by the Alk, as the Courier's got it right now, I believe. He's looking to complete his Abyssal there. And I was just going to check. Whose Sheepstick was it? Oh, it wasn't a Sheepstick. That's why. It's a Shiba's Guard for the Bat Rider. sword's going to be working towards the sheep stick. In fact, he's actually got everything. The stuff's back in his stash. That's where the sheep stick was. I was wondering where that mystic staff went. It didn't seem right that it was the Bat Rider picking up the Shivas. EverNova's going to go for a 5-man gank here. As they're smoked up, they're going to run right into Shekid and the sword. They're going to try to engage. They're going to find the Shekid. The Doom's going to get cast on him, but look at this. EverNova's... They could have taken this kill, but they are not feeling comfortable about diving into that. They're going to play it safe. Once again, a reminder, guys, this is just a best of one. We're still in the quarterfinals. I realize the other semi-final match is probably already finished. So we probably have a team waiting in the grand finals. Of course, I don't know the outcome of that yet. But, yeah, that semi-final started before this game. We're already 49 minutes in, so we're going to have a lasso coming up from Matthew. It's going to get on to Derp as he's going to buy back into the game, which means the Ice Blast is going to start flying in. There it is. As Jeremy's going to try to TP away, the Ice Blast is actually going to be a little bit too far. As Luccini, with that buyback from the Ancient Apparition, look to completely disengage here as the sword tries to jump away. He will get caught with the vacuum that's going to bring him back. The sheep from the Timber Saw will be used on the Slark there. But it looks like Timber is going to go down, unless he somehow snakes his way out of this. Never mind, Jeremy's going to come in and help on out, as he's going to get the kill on the Darks here. But the Timber eventually goes down, and now Jeremy's dead. And no buyback on the Timber Saw, because he just bought that sheep stick. As the Shiva's guard getting a couple heroes low, Let Me Go is just going to back away and kill that creep so they can regen out of combat. The Dragon Knight kind of low. Will he take out to the Flame Break? No. 14 HP on the Dragon Knight as Metro Boomin tries to go after Camuzi. Let Me Go with the pounce will be just barely off the mark there. Now will EverNova's be able to push uphill and force out the buyback. They force out one from the Winter Wyvern. They want the one on the Alchemist. 60 seconds before he's going to be able to get back up. He does have it available to him. But he's being very, very patient with it, waiting till there's a real engage. As Metro's going to get lassoed back, and if they get a kill on the Doom here, EverNova's going to have to back away, and they won't be able to force out that buyback.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
So the show fight recap actually giving us all the information of that team fight. You can see that was advantage in favor of EverNova's, as well we expected, because they won the fight, or at least they appeared to have won the fight until eventually they tried to force out that buyback and ended up losing their Doom, which kind of evened it up in terms of a hero kill. From a hero kill perspective, 3 heroes dead on either side, buyback from the position 5 support on either side. But it is a 2,000 gold swing in favor of EverNova's as a result of that, and that's mainly due to the net worths. And the fact that they got a kill on the Alchemist, who is at 37.5k net worth. Now we're going to have Boots of Travel picked up by the Slark, Pipe picked up by the Darkseer. We've had a lot of items coming out, so I will quickly bring up our items here so you guys can take a quick gander at those. As Matthew pops the Fireflies, he's going to look for a pick-off. They're going to find Let Me Go, as they're going to pull the Slark back with a lasso. Lotus Orb's going to get cast on him by his Darkseer, but the Winter Wyverns, or Winter's Curse, is going to be doing a good job of delaying that Darkseer, but he will be able to come in with a wall. And the Winter Wyvern's going to be the first to go down. The Slark is disengaged. He's going to wait till he gets his HP back up. And here he comes back in. Let Me Go, re-engaging here. Tries to go after Jeremy, but gets stunned up by that Abyssal. As will he be able to chase down Jeremy? He's on the run. He's going to blink. He's going to try to TP. And he will be successful. But still, 3 heroes dead on the side of Luccini. A full 5 up on EverNova's. So now they'll definitely try to push here. A bunch of pings coming out from the sword. Obviously Luccini talking about that fight and trying to figure out what went wrong. It actually looked like a really good engage from them. They were very close to killing that Slark. Hoke tried to come in on the Darkseer and help out. Winter's Curse was used to just kind of disable him, to buy them some time and make sure that no one else was going to be able to come in and help that Slark, but they just barely weren't able to bring him down As we're going to see Matthew go down. Buyback's going to get forced out of Camus. We do have a buyback available on the Bat Rider as well. As the mid melee racks are going to go down, the range racks will follow. Now EverNova's going to move towards the top lane. Bat Rider's bought back. So we've got 4 heroes alive on the side of Luccini. 10 seconds before the Timber's going to be back up. As they are going to engage here onto the Doom. He's going to pop his BKB, turn around and fight. As they're going to go on to Jeremy, who's just tanking everything. There's a Winter's Curse cast onto the Dragon Knight, but no one's actually attacking into it because they've got their BKBs popped. As Metro is going to go down to the Timbersaw. Jeremy once again slapping away at this Dragon Knight, but now Vacuum's going to bring them back as the Timber is going to jump away. Now this is looking like a complete disaster for EverNova's, as Darkseer's going to be able to get out of there safely. Will the Slark? It looks like he will. So EverNova's once again try to push, try to force out some buybacks. They do get some, but then they end up overstaying their welcome. And we got a big gold swing going the way of Luccini. Is just shy of, well, around 4,600 net worth swing for them. So now Matthew, Jeremy, and Camus start marching down the mid lane. There's a gem on the ground here. No one can really pick it up though. As Camus went and sold something. Now we have a pause coming out from Luccini. This feels like a strat pause. This definitely feels like a tactical pause. This is a moment of the game where definitely they're discussing, let's push what happens when they buy back, or if they buy back, or who buys back. So Luccini's ready to go. EverNova's, they've got the bathroom break here. Of course, we know that the AA can't buy back. The players should know that as well. Although you like to keep timers on buyback cooldowns. AA, not really a high priority one on that. But they should roughly know, based on their Winter Wyverns buyback timer, whether that AA's buyback timer is going to be up or not. What they don't know is if the Dragon Knight and the Doom have buyback. We can see that they do. And I think we're 54 minutes into the game. A core is going to have a buyback in this kind of game. You can see right now, everyone who has their buyback off cooldown has buyback, because it's just, it's 54 minutes into a game. One team fight without buybacks could just be the end. So everyone's kind of got that base covered. We're so even right now, 28 kills apiece. And we'll bring up the gold graph. We can't actually see because it's blocked by the game is paused. But it is actually crossed over 0, and it's an EverNova's win. Or EverNova's not win, advantage. But still, it's very, very slight. In fact, it's, what, 4,000 gold? Well, both teams are ready. We're going to see what's going to happen here. As I expect Luccini to be able to push uphill and force out the buybacks on... they can probably get 2, because the Ancient Apparition won't be able to buy back, and they should know that. He's missing a kill there, as Let Me Go is going to get one. So EverNova's going to hold on to them because they've got the glyph. And maybe they're okay with this. Let Me Go is going to get the top racks. So they're actually okay with the trade here. And the ping's going to come out for him to go down to the bottom tier 3. So the mid melee racks and range racks will go down. And, okay, just jumped in. He got an interrupt with the vacuum on some of the TPs. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to interrupt Jeremy. Is Matthew going to jump in? He's going to get the lasso off on the Darkseer. He's going to pull him back to the Timbersaw and the Night Stalker. As the Darkseer does not go full defensive, he just keeps running forward because he knows he has his full team in behind backing him up. As now it's Luccini on the run. Let Me Go, running after Camus, who's saying, "Let me go, please." Nice jukes there coming out from the Night Stalker, but I'm not sure if it's going to have been enough, as he's taking a lot of damage here. But here comes his team re-engaging. Nice wall vacuum, going to land onto 3. Let Me Go is actually going to go down as EverNova's loses the first hero in this battle, and they're going to lose another as their Darkseer is going to go down. We will have an immediate buyback, or not an immediate, but a buyback from the Slark and a buyback from the Darkseer, as they're going to TP in and try to run down here and meet up with their teams. As this game is getting pretty crazy. 56 minutes in, and it is definitely anyone's game. I have to say, the trade of the top racks for their mid racks and not having to use buybacks was a huge advantage and a huge win for EverNova's. We are so close, I think. So close to finding out which of these two teams is going to advance into our semifinals. Because this is just a best of one. I wish it was more, but it's just going to be a best of one. Winter's Curse going to get cast onto Metro Boom, and as he's getting right-clicked by his Slark, he's only going to go down to about 2/3 HP as the sword is going to get doomed up. As the Matthew's going to jump in from behind. He's going to run on top of everyone. He's got the lasso off onto Derp of all heroes. As everyone's taking damage here, but no one's really getting too low. Derp's the lowest, but the focus target's going to be the Dragon Knight, who's in the middle of everyone on the side of Luccini. The melee racks has already gone down. The range racks, though, will still stand. As these 4 catapults are doing work right now, someone's got to destroy the catapults. As Derp will go down here. Kamuzi is going to try to chase after Ho-Okay. As the catapults, will they do it? Looks like they will. 61 HP on the range racks. 33. No, they won't. Oh. But because it's a range racks, it won't regen. As Metro coming in, as he's going to get slowed up, he's going to try to TP away, but he's going to get interrupted. So EverNova's loses 4 heroes here. You have to keep in mind that the Slark bought back. So he's going to be on cooldown if he dies. He managed to stay alive. He's the only remaining living member of EverNova's. So that's really important for them. There are, like I said, 4 heroes dead. The Darkseer on cooldown from the buyback that he timed with the Slark. But the other 3 heroes on EverNova's all have buybacks, and I expect them to have to use it because Luccini's just marching down mid right now. As Let Me Go is in Luccini's base. He's gotten the range racks, and Luccini knows we're up against Mega Creeps. We got to do something here. 3 buybacks going to come out from EverNova's, and Luccini, they're going to back away. They're not going to go for it. They're going to wait. They're going to wait for another opening. Trying to defend against Megas. Maybe they feel okay because they've got an Alchemist and they've got a decent amount of wave clear with their Batrider and their Timbersaw that they can deal with the Mega Creeps and wait for a better opportunity for them. But they're up against Megas, and that is difficult to defend against. And if EverNova's takes a fight at a good moment where they are pushing into Luccini, with those creeps there, those creeps are going to do a lot of damage and add a lot of damage to this EverNova's lineup. Whew! I get to take a little bit of a breather there for a second. This game is getting pretty hype. But let's take a quick look at our net worth, as it has gone down in favor of EverNova's, but with them losing those heroes, it's gone back in favor of Luccini. But Gold Graph doesn't even mean anything anymore at this point in the game. It's next team fight's going to decide who wins this game. If it's EverNova's fighting on Luccini's side of the map. If EverNova's are able to win the team fight, game's over, I think. There's so many people on cooldown for their buybacks right now. I don't really think we're going to see an engage until those buybacks start coming back up. But if EverNova's does win a fight, I think anywhere on the map, they should probably be able to close this one out. Luccini, it's going to be difficult for them. You've got to try and find another opening. This is why I was a little bit surprised that they backed away, because they just forced out some buybacks. Had they won that team fight, they would have been able to win the game. Because they back now, it's going to be difficult. They're going to be sitting back, defending constantly, and they have to basically shut down EverNova's in one of their pushes, and then be able to have enough healthy heroes to be able to push out and try and threaten EverNova's to the point where they're going to have to spend their buybacks. And then they're going to have to back up, and then we're probably going to be in a little bit of a stalemate where EverNova's aren't going to want to push until their buybacks are off cooldown. But we'll see. We'll see if EverNova's are going to wait for all these buybacks before they try to push. So, who did that get to? So, Aghanim Scepter going to the Batrider. We've got one on the Timbersaw, one on the Batrider. We don't have one on the Winter Wyvern, and Night Stalker still holding on to his in his inventory. EverNova's grouped up as 5 in the bottom lane. They're going to smoke up as well. Just the Alchemist and the Timbersaw with buybacks available right now. couple heroes are actually off cooldown, just don't have enough gold. Batrider is getting close to having enough gold. So I really don't agree with this. If EverNova are going to go for a push here, they're on cooldown on all their important buybacks. This is very, very risky. Well, I do not agree with this call at all. Maybe they're just trying to catch Luccini off guard, knowing that Luccini knows its information. They're going to get a pick off onto the sword. He's going to buy back immediately into the game. Matthew's been frozen up, as he's already popped his BKB. Now he's going to get sheeped. Alchemist Stun's going to be on the Dragon Knight, as Metro Boomin's trying to front line for his team, and Winter's Curse going to get cast on him, as Matthew's going to go down here to the Slark, and no buyback available for that Batrider, as he does not have enough gold for 120 seconds. Long cooldowns on these buybacks as well, as Metro Boom is going to go down. A wall vacuum, it's not that greatest, as Jeremy's going to walk through. He's actually going to TP, even though he's a few feet away from his fountain. But it's a little faster from where he was, as the Slark's going to get, or as the Darkseer's going to get tossed up in the air, and he's going to go down. As EverNova's have lost 2 heroes. Meanwhile, the creeps are pushing in really hard. One of the tier 4s has gone down. There's a Maelstrom just lying on the ground right now, as now Luccini in full defense mode against all these creeps. As EverNova, they're going to back away. Man, this is an incredibly tense game here between these two teams, and I don't know about that call. I feel like that was so risky. There was still about a minute and a half buyback on some of their heroes. I mean, there's Slark. If Slark goes down in that fight and he's down for a minute and a half, what are you going to really have as your big carry late game to be able to defend against a push coming in from Luccini? You just don't have enough damage at that point. If Alk stays alive and Slark goes down, I think EverNova's just kind of lose that there. Because I don't... At this point, if Luccini wins a fight and they win a fight favorably enough, I don't think they go for Rax. I don't think they go for Rax at all. I think they have to go for Throne. I mean, even if you go for Rax and get the Megas, all you've done is kind of even the game up, which I guess is one step closer to winning. But if you've got enough time to get these Rax down, you've got enough time to end the game. I don't know. EverNova's went for it. They got a pick off. They got a good engage to start things off. So I think they definitely caught Luccini off guard on that one. But then we saw it maybe a little bit backfire on them. I don't want to say entirely, because one of the tier 4s went down to the creeps. The other one went down to about half HP. So they made some progress towards ending the game. But now I think we're going to see it again. We got another 5-man smoke from EverNova as they start marching down the mid lane. There's the sword. He's the forward member on the side of Luccini again. "64 minutes in. Best of 1. Still only round of 8. We've got 2 best of 3s to go after this, as the sword's going to get stunned up. Ice Blast is going to land on him. He's going to go down. No buyback available on the Timbersaw. Winter's Curse going to get cast on the Darkseer. He's got a few of his heroes attacking him, as he's going to get stunned up by the Alchemist, and the Darkseer is going to go down. So both effective, not really offlaners, because the Batrider's the offlaner, but both those heroes going down, as Matthew, the other offlaner, is getting focused here. He's going to get cold embraced, as that's going to force EverNova to switch away, as we had a buyback on the Darkseer. He's making his way down here, as he's charging down mid lane. The stun's going to be on a couple heroes there, as the Dragon Knight getting quite low as well. He's going to turn around, he's going to get the kill on the Night Stalkers. The Alk's going to go down, immediate buyback from him, as he's going to try and go back and defend by himself, because the Winter Wyvern's dead. He's the only one left alive. GG's going to get called, as Luccini will tap out of this. Whew, we saw EverNova's go up against Luccini in the quarterfinal #1. They met in the semifinals. That series went to a full 3 games, and it was a real battle back and forth between these two teams. Now we saw them clash again in a best of 1 in the round of 8s, and man, these two teams are actually very, very close in terms of skill, and man, did they make an exciting game for us. Look at the fantasy points. I don't follow fantasy at all, but 21.3 and 19.5 seems like a lot. But what a game. What a game. I'm going to have to take a breather, but we do have another match, so I'm going to have to jump on into it. Once again, guys, if you're in Dota TV, I'm casting live on twitch.tv/NizCast. Stop by and say hi, but I will be casting the rest of the series from here on out, so if you see me in that Dota TV drop-down list for the broadcaster, definitely click it and listen in. because we're going to have a whole bunch of games that are just going to be really exciting to close out the night. But we're going to have EverNova's going against IX Mike 88, aka the Ritsu stack, in just a few minutes. Once again, guys, I was Niz. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back in just a few.